Hey guys, what's happening? Crossy here. I'm going to do a short video today for you, explaining a little bit about fishing with a Bolognese rod and getting the setup balance just right. So I shall show you that. I'll explain a little bit about the float fishing skill that you need in order to unlock the Bolognese rod. So let's have a quick look at that first of all. So this is your skill tree. When you start off fishing with your telestick, every time you catch a fish, you'll get a percentage that goes towards your skill progress with float fishing. You get that on each one of these, but we'll concentrate on the float fishing one. So that'll add up. Once you reach 30% of your float fishing skill, it will then unlock fishing with a Bolognese rod. The ability to use a Bolognese rod. Bolognese rod is similar to a telescopic rod, but it's equipped with line guides and a reel seat, and it enables you to use a fishing reel and cast at distance, and also enables you to play the fish a little bit better than you can do with a telefloat stick, as it's got a fixed line, whereas the Bolognese rod has a fixed spool reel, which allows you to let line out and play the fish a little bit better. So yeah, that's basically what you need. You need 30% of your float fishing skill to unlock the Bolognese rod. I think I did it when I reached about level, I think it took me to about level 12 to get 30% on float fishing. So that's what you need in your skills. Float fishing skill of 30% or more to unlock it. Once you've unlocked it, you can then go to the fishing tackle store and buy yourself a Bolognese rod. Now, I've got two Bolognese rods. I've got the basic one, which is the SB13, which is 4 meters long, and I've also got the slightly longer one, the SB16, which is 5 meters long. Both these have got slow action. They've also got a test of 14 to 40 grams, both exactly the same. The load capacity, the recommended line, in other words, the line weight, is, well, I want it to stay on. The load capacity is 4 kg. So you're looking at line around about 4 kg in weight. If you exceed that, then you're going to cause unnecessary damage to the rod, and it's going to wear out a lot quicker. So try and keep your line weight to 4 kg if you can. The power is medium, and the test, which I'll come to next, is 14 to 40 grams. So we'll select this one. I'm using a Express Fishing lxCROSSYxl 4000S, but if you're new to the game, you could always use the Spark 3000S, which is a lot cheaper. It's not as good. It doesn't have the same line max drag weight, where this is 3 kilos. The lxCROSSYxl is 5.5 kilos. So that lets you use a slightly stronger line, but you've also got to offset that with the weight that you've got on your float, you got on your Bolognese rod. So my line I'm using with this setup is an 8-pound line, and it's 3.5 kilos. So it doesn't exceed the 4 kilos, and it's also not exceeding the 5 kg recommended for the drag on the reel as well. It would exceed the recommended for this, but not by much. You could probably get away with it. You could probably get away with using the Spark. So I'm going to swap the Lacerti for the spark, for the, just for this demonstration. So now I've got a 3 kg max drag on my reel, 4 kg on my rod, 3.5 kg on my line. So that's under for the rod, but slightly over for the reel. But it's not going to cause too much damage, that 0.5. The line that I've got on there at the moment, it's got a lot of wear and tear, so we're going to take that off. We're going to put some new line on. Now I have got a new spool, exactly the same. It's up to yourself if you want to use 350 meters. You can use the 120. It's a lot cheaper, but if you do get a decent sized fish on and it decides to take you for a run around one of the lakes, you are in danger of being what they call spooled. In other words, the fish takes all the line off your reel, takes it to the end, and then it just snaps off. So if that happens, you're going to lose all of your majority of your line to start with, but you'll also lose your hook and your float that you've got attached to it as well. So I like to use a bulk spool and fill the reel spool up as much as it'll allow. So the diameter is 0.19 millimeters, and there's 350 meters of line on that spool at 3.5 kg. It's a Siberia Indiana line, and it's transparent in colour, which works quite well. So that's what I always go for. But it's up to yourself whether you want to offset the cost to the you know, you've got a possibility that you might get spooled. So let's put that line on. So that's our line, that's our reel. Now, when you look at the diameter of the line corresponds to the diameter of the line capacity that you've got on your reel. So that spool on that reel at 0.19 millimeters will actually hold 212 meters of line. So it's not going to, even though you've got a bulk spool of 350, you aren't going to put all that 350 on here. It's only going to manage to fit 212 meters on. So that's our rod, our reel, and our line explained. So that's pretty much balanced. Like I say, it is slightly overbalanced with the line load capacity to the reel max drag, but it should be fine. You won't notice that much difference in wear. Then we come to our float. So this is where we got to now take into account the test of the rod. So the test of the rod is 14 to 40 grams. Now your 14 to 40 grams means the casting weight. The weight of the items that you're attaching to your line shouldn't be outside of this tolerance. So if it's below 14 grams, whatever you're adding up, that puts on into your line, it's not going to cast correctly. But if it's over 40 grams, you're then in danger of adding unnecessary wear and tear to your line and your other equipment every time you cast out and bring it back in because it's overweight. So I'm going to go for, let's set up the float first of all. So I've got some different floats here. These are all, majority of them are all 4 grams. And you've also got a 2 gram Bolognese float on the end, but that's for a different setup. So I'm going to pick the Bob's Original, which is one of the starting floats that you've got. So that's 4 grams. And then we've got a classic hook. Now I like to use on a light Bolognese setup like this, nothing bigger than a 12. Because if you start going bigger than a 12, you're then going to be alienating those smaller fish. but you know, leaning more towards the bigger fish, which you don't really want at an early stage of the game. Smaller fish is okay, as long as if you can catch them in large quantities, keep them rolling over, keep the silver coming in, and also keep your XP rolling in. That's what I would go with. So I'd either use the 16 or the 14, size 14. Now both of those are Siberia CHK 401 S6. That's an S16, size 16, and you've also got the same class of hook, but in a size 14. So we'll go with a 16. And now we're going to look at the bait. So I'm over on Mosquito Lake at the moment. Now, at a low level, you want to be catching small but often. You don't want to be waiting and getting big fish on and then losing your gear because it snapped you or it spooled you. So I suggest sticking to something like worms or maggot, possibly corn. Don't go for anything like cheese or potato or any of these other baits, because you will encourage the bigger fish and you will more than likely lose some of your gear. So we're going to go with maggot. We'll put that on the line. So now we can look at the weight, our casting weight. Our casting weight is well under this test. It's well under. So it's going to be quite light to cast out. But that's fine. We're not bothered about that. As long as we don't really exceed that where it's going to cause damage. But you're not going to be able to cast out as far as you would if it was in between those weights there. So that's our balanced Bolognese rod setup. So we'll pick that up. Now I'm fishing at 3554 coordinates on Mosquito Lake. I like this area. It's got a few nice little features to cast to. I'm going to put some ground bait out and we'll fish over the ground bait with maggot and we'll look at the depth. I'll also talk about a little bit about how you get the float on the bottom, the bait on the bottom, how you know it's on the bottom, and we'll see if we can catch a few fish. So first of all, I'm going to mix some ground bait. So you press N to bring up your crafting, and then go to click on ground baits. And then if we click on the top option, these lower options are all for predetermined recipes, depending on what sort of fish you want to go for. So I'm just going on ground bait, creating my own. I'm going to click on mixture 1. These are your base mixes. These are your additives. These are the attractants. So base mix 1. All I've got is ground crackers. So we click one of those. Additives, we're adding corn. An attractant, we're adding vanilla. And OK. Once you've done that, you then click on prepare. And that has made portions, 10 pieces, 10 balls, like cricket ball sized portions of ground bait. Each portion lasts 13 hours in game time. By making that, I've also increased my ground bait making skill by 0.2%. So I'm now on 10.01% of ground bait crafting. You click OK. We can close that. If you hold the U button down, you get your quick select items. So here are my balls of ground bait. I'm going to select some of these. Let's select ones that I've just made. So this one. So casting the, throwing the the balls of ground bait is a little bit tricky. I always take use the first one as a guidance to the trajectory. So what you do is, if you hold the left trigger down, left mouse button down, you'll see it runs around, and then if you hold it down longer, you get a full power. So 122% is full power. So I use the actual power meter as a guidance to where I'm aiming. So we'll point the top of the meter to just on the edge of those lily pads there, like that, and we'll let one fly and see where it lands. So that landed sort of in the middle of the power meter. So we need to aim higher up. So we'll put the power meter, the numbers in the power meter, roughly where we want the balls of ground bait to land, and we'll try that. And that was a little better. One more, a little bit higher. So like the bottom of the inner circle is roughly where we want to the ball to land. And that'll do. So we'll add another one of those. I'm going to put for one more. I'm moving it a little bit higher each time. There, that'll do. Pressing backspace, put those away. We'll bring our Bolognese rod back up. Now we need to check the depth that we're going to be fishing at. So if you check your map, if you bought a map, we're actually in this area here. Around this bit, I think, somewhere. No, we're not, sorry. We're on the opposite side. So we're around here. So it's around about a metre deep. There's the one there. So we're roughly around this point of the lake. So let's set it to a metre deep. Using the plus key. Puts the depth of the... Slides the float up the line. Gives us a metre of... between the float and the hook bait. And we're going to cast that out. Little tip for casting: if you're finding that your float is going a bit wild and erratic and you can't really aim, sort of keep your as you're gonna cast, keep your float, your rod pointing down low, and then don't let the power go over 50%, and you'll find it becomes a lot more accurate. So once you've cast out, click your left mouse, click your bail line back on, and slowly retrieve the float back into position over where you've been putting the ground bait. If you zoom in, press Z, we can now see our float is over depth. And the way I know that is, once the float is set with the hook bait just touching the bottom, not over, it will give you a reading if it's under, but the little white line above the black markings on the float should sit on the surface of the water, whereas at the moment we've got a fish biting, but the white line is well above the surface of the water. We'll hit this one. So I'm just striking using my right mouse button. And we've got a little common roach. So I'm going to reduce that down by 5 centimeters. So we'll come down to 95 centimeters. So in other words, we've taken 2 inches in imperial, or 5 centimeters off the depth. Once again, cast out, overcast, and then retrieve back to the same spot. Check your float, check for the marker. It's still too deep, so we're going to come down a little bit more. We'll take another 5 centimeters off, and then we'll recast. So we'll come down to 90. Overcast, retrieve it, We'll check again. Right, now you can see the float is sitting correctly in the water. That's the correct position of the float for this type of float. The white line is just sitting on the surface. So now that's a good indicator of anything that touches your bait, touches the hook bait, is gonna register, and you will see that it'll pull the float under easier. It's more sensitive. You can also see when you get a lift bite. That's when the fish actually picks the bait up and lifts it up in the water like that. That's a lift bite. Once you see it do that, hit your right mouse button, strike to strike, and then also reeling in with your left, swing it in. Got a little Crucian. So we know now that's the perfect depth for that area. If we was to move from this area, we're going to have to re-plumb, i.e. plumbing the depth is what you call it when you find the depth of the body of water that you're in, to get your bait sitting just right. Now that was a poor cast, so let's recast it. I sort of pulled down at the same time when I let it go. That went pretty straight in front of me. If you look, it's pretty much straight. So retrieve it. Now somebody was asking, do you keep the bail arm on or do you take the bail arm off? You can take the bail arm on and off using your enter key. So you click it, it opens it. Click it again, it closes it. Your bail arm should always be closed while you've got a rod in hand. If you've not, if the bail arm's open like that now, I'm going to strike. Look, it's just free. The line's running free. We've missed that bite. We've caused lots of loose line. So you always make sure the bail arm's on. So click it. If you can tighten your line up, your bail arm's on. We missed that bite anyway. But yeah, you should always fish with your bail arm on. The only time the bail arm needs to be off is like that when you're casting out, to allow the line to pay out. Now we've got a bite. There it goes, and strike, and we're into a fish. Now I'm swinging that in using the right mouse button, which lifts the rod in when you strike. Bait is not chosen. So let's put, this time I'm going to put a piece of corn on. We'll try the corn. Let's see if we can get something a little bit bigger for our final fish. Here we go. Here's our corn bite. Let's wait, let it bob it about. Wait till that definite indication that it's got hold of it. Wait for it to slide away steadily or take it straight under. There we go, there we go. Hit it and we're in. Oh, and we've got a decent fish on this time. It's better. So I'm just reeling. Now it's stripping line. When you hear that clicking, it's taking line off the reel. Now we can scroll up with the mouse wheel. Increase the friction brake, slowing it down. What you don't want to do is make that bar, that power bar, turn to red by exceeding the outer two white markings. But this fish is going. Now we're on really light gear, so we've just got to be careful. When it stops like that and it suddenly goes short of the yellow bar in the middle, what you can do is start reeling. If it's not winding it in quick enough, you're in danger of losing the fish due to low tension. So what you can do is you can hold your finger on your shift key and wind, and it will wind faster than normal. Like that now. I've just held my finger on shift and clicked my left button, and it'll wind the loose line in quickly when the fish suddenly decides to swim towards you and create loose line. Drop the tension. So just be ready for that when that happens. And this fish is still going. And then it's dropped the tension, dropping the tension, keeping my finger on shift, just clicking the left mouse button till the fish starts to run again when you hear the clicking noise. So this fish has gone, it's taken quite a lot of line. This is the reason I have the spool filled up as high as much as possible. Just so if you've obviously if you've only got a short amount of line on, when it runs like this with a decent fish on, you can get spooled. So always, you know, try and fill the spool as much as you can with a bulk spool of line. Yep, I see the fish now. If you press Z as you're reeling it in, you can see the fish. It's giving up the fight, but I'm having to sort of drag it across the water. What would happen if I turn my drag up too much? We would end up in the red, which would cause damage and wear to the line, the rod and the reel. So we'll keep that, as long as you keep it below the outermost. Oh, we've got a bit of issue then, jumping. And we've got a nice fish here. So here's where we can demonstrate the landing net. If you bought the landing net early in the game, once you get your fish to this point here, where you can no longer wind any line in, it will stop when it reaches a certain point. You'll find you can't wind any more line onto the reel. You then hold your right button down, right mouse button, and you'll lift the rod slowly and press the spacebar, and we'll put the net out. Once the net's out and it's not quite touching, if you push up the mouse, you'll find it'll lift the rod even higher, like that, and then it's in the net. So there we go, guys. We've ended on a nice common carp on really light tackle. 2.85 kilo carp, so that's roughly, it's coming up not far off £6 carp with 489 XP. We've also got 0.1% skill increase on float fishing. So if we keep that. So that has increased this by 0.1%. Right, guys, so that's me done. Hope you like this little video. It went over a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but if you did like it, give it a thumbs up. Give me a sub if you've not already. And I'll be back next time with more fishing videos from Russian Fishing 4. So that's me, Crossy, over and out. Until next time, take care.